The Coen brothers. You may know them for such movies as The Big Lebowski, No Country for Old Men, Fargo, and Raising Arizona. They are an indelible part of film history, but despite making some of the best and most notable films of our time, a lot of their other works are quite less known to the mainstream. Films like Burn After Reading, Miller's Crossing, and many more. But there's one of the bunch that truly stands out. Barton Fink. Barton Fink is the Coen brothers' fourth feature, released in 1991, about a playwright named Barton Fink being whisked away to Hollywood to write a screenplay. The brothers were having difficulty writing Miller's Crossing because of the dense storyline, and after watching Baby Boom, they decided to take a break from writing Miller's to write Barton Fink, as a sort of palate cleanser. They wrote the script with relative ease in 3 weeks, and were able to go back and finally finish the script of Miller's Crossing, which took them in comparison about 9 months. They then went on to film Barton almost immediately after finishing production on Miller's, even bringing a lot of the same cast and crew, such as John Polito, Steve Buscemi, and John Turturro. They got the same production designer, Dennis Gassner, and same composer, Carter Burwell. They also got John Goodman, who worked previously on Raising Arizona with them, and other notable names like Michael Lerner, John Mahoney, Judy Davis, and Tony Shalhoub. The cinematographer for Miller's, Barry Sonnenfeld, couldn't work on the film due to him working on his directorial debut, The Addams Family. So the brothers instead went with Roger Deakins, which is the start of a long partnership and led to Deakins becoming the only cinematographer to exist. The film did well critically. It won 3 awards at Cannes: Best Director, Best Actor, and the Palme d'Or, winning so successfully that the rules were changed to where a film couldn't win any more than 2 awards. They also got an Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actor. The film flopped at the box office, making $6 million on a $9 million budget, but the film has a long legacy that helped influence other projects and has gained the admiration of fellow filmmakers, especially Charlie Kaufman, saying, when prompted about what movies he'd bring with him on a desert island, "A movie I really love is Barton Fink. I don't know if that's a movie I'd take to a desert island, but I feel like there's so much in there, could watch it again and again. That's important to me, especially if that was the only movie I'd have with me for the rest of my life." It's not surprising that Kaufman likes a movie where someone struggles to write a screenplay, when that's exactly what he did with adaptation. Barton Fink has a quality to where it's a movie you can pop on and watch easily, while also discovering new things every time you watch it. It's easy to watch, but hard to derive a specific meaning or message from. A lot is ambiguous, but not to the point where the movie makes no sense or is obnoxious. It has a lightness that similar movies don't, and is a good counterweight to Miller's as it gives us more room to breathe. The film itself takes place in 1941, a little before Pearl Harbor in Los Angeles, or how they used to pronounce it,
Los Angeles?
The Coen brothers do seem to have a fondness for this time period of the 30s to 40s, as they cover it in numerous films, and allude to the movies and books from that time period as well in others. The main character is Barton Fink, a playwright who, after writing a hit play, is whisked away to LA to write a wrestling picture. The character is loosely based on a playwright turned screenwriter named Clifford Odets, who co-wrote The Sweet Smell of Success, a nice noir with great cinematography about the corruption of media. He is known for plays such as Waiting for Lefty. He was part of a group of people who wanted to create a common man theater, which is also what Barton emphasizes and strives for, creating a theater for the common man. Barton isn't the only character in the film based on a real-life person. W.P. Mayhew, the alcoholic writer who's supposed to help Barton, but ultimately doesn't, is based on William Faulkner. The character is played by John Mahoney, Frasier's dad, and the Coens have cited Faulkner as an inspiration for such films as Raising Arizona. The studio head, Charles Lupnick, is based on all those larger-than-life studio heads like Jack Warner, Louis B. Mayer, or Harry Kahn. Played by Michael Lerner, whose intense performance gave him an Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actor, has also played Harry Kahn in a TV movie about Rita Hayworth called Rita Hayworth, the Love Goddess. Audrey, played by Judy Davis, is a caricature of Audrey Hepburn. She is W.P.'s secretary and lover. She is very tolerant of Mayhew's drunkenness and disorderly behavior, and is a good friend to Barton in the film, and also his main love interest. Other characters throughout the film are reminiscent of ones you would see in films of the time period, with the wisecracking detectives being something out of noir. Fast-talking producer, played by Tony Shalhoub, Monk, something you see in a Preston Sturges movie. They're almost parodies of themselves. They're like movie characters in real life. The Coens' choice to make a film about someone struggling to write a screenplay isn't that surprising, considering that's what they were going through. The weird choice was the time period and characters, but I think it has to do with it being on their minds as they were writing Miller's Crossing, and Miller's Crossing takes place in a similar time period, and would have been on their minds when writing Barton. I also believe the reason the film is the way it is to kind of mock themselves. Barton is them in a way. I mean, look at the Coens back then and look at Barton. Combine them together and you get Barton. It seems to mock the modern independence and dedication towards art of the modern screenwriter at that period of the early 90s, and place it in a time where screenwriters were looked upon with little regard, or a writer who writes about the struggles of the common man would then be assigned to write a film about wrestling, where the producers want it to be simply more of an action movie than anything, a simple morality tale where the good guys win. The film shows how ill-equipped this type of writer would be in the studio system, or how these heavy idealistic playwrights would fit into the factory of the studio system, where certain studios were releasing a film per week, and the only objective for them was to make a movie that would sell tickets. These authors and playwrights often weren't even allowed to adapt their own work into a screenplay. They would have a different author to do it, like with William Faulkner adapting The Big Sleep, which was written by Raymond Chandler, who would adapt Double Indemnity, written by James M. Cain, who himself was a screenwriter adapting other people's novels. But despite studio interference and the Hays Code bringing in strict censorship, the studio system did turn out timeless classics like Citizen Kane, but it wasn't the studio's top priority. And these writers and directors, you had to often make endless compromises to do so. The Coens are known for their dark comedic sense of humor, like in Fargo or A Serious Man. Barton Fink is no exception, as there are plenty of scenes that show dark humor, making fun of alcoholism, murder, and straight-up torment. It's the first Coen film to truly show the Coens' more dark, naturalistic humor, versus the rather wacky and heightened humor of Raising Arizona, and even The Little and Millers. Hey, come on, the guy gets beaten up like 7 times in that film, and what's with the kid? The film does seem to like tormenting Barton. Hell, the film almost amuses in it. Not only his screenplay being trashed, but the one girl he sleeps with is murdered. His one friend in LA turns out to be a serial killer, and torments Barton because Barton was a little rude to him, and his parents and uncle were probably murdered as well. The Coens are amused at this ambitious writer, being crushed by the brutal reality of Hollywood, and chose this specific time period as well because it was a studio system, and it was also during a time of war as well. So it highlights just how insignificant Barton is in the grand scheme of things. It's to mock their own struggle with writing Millers and their ambition to make something great, to put someone else in the same shoes with the same struggle. But of course, in that time, they get absolutely trashed because they didn't follow the system. And I think that's what the movie's final message is about, following the rules, which Barton doesn't do, and he is told countless times what to do, and that the script's not a big deal. Audrey tells him the structure, that's just a simple morality tale of good and evil. It's not very complicated. Barton could have watched a few wrestling pictures or read a few scripts, but he didn't, and of course his help wasn't that great. The producer supervising the picture just shows him dailies when he's in trouble, which is just watching unedited footage, aka watching the same shot over and over again, not very helpful. He also doesn't try to relate to the common man at all. Whenever he talks to Charlie, he mostly just talks about himself and makes slightly rude insinuations towards him. He doesn't want to relate to the common man, and the common man doesn't like him. The common man is awful to him. Like the detectives making an anti-Semitic remark towards him, being Jewish. Barton isn't in touch with the common man, never was, even in theater. His plays appeal to those elite theater types. What appealed to the common man at that time was cinema. It was simple morality tales with their favorite actor that appealed to him. the simple triumph of good over evil. Barton was too blind to see that. But after all the torment to him, the blindness is gone. After he gets pummeled by Hollywood, he can be truly content, and he sees the lady on the beach, the one he sees in his hotel room. He learns not knowing and not being super important is liberating. The pressure is gone, and he is still under contract, and will have another shot at writing, during which he will understand his role and may be able to slip in some greatness.